Welcome back to the Get Geekish podcast. I'm Beto, joined by my cohort Derek over there. How you doing this week, Derek?
I'm all right. And you? I don't know what that was.
You've still got Mario in the brain, don't you?
Yeah, apparently. Apparently that's what it is.
Well, this week we decided to talk about a topic that's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. Mothers. Mother's Day is coming up. It's the second Sunday of every May the Mother's Day comes around?
Yeah, something like that.
So we got to thinking of some of the pop culture moms that were pretty awesome. Talk about some of those this week, and some of the not-so-good ones, too. I mean, everything from Marge Simpson and Molly Weasley being some good ones, to Miss Darling from Peter Pan and Livia Soprano from being the not-so-good moms. But we're going to talk about some of the moms from pop culture that probably had an effect on some of our lives, too, because why not, right?
I feel like we need Samuel Jackson do an intro on this one. I'm tired of these. Never mind.
That's a different mom's blog. We're not doing one of those. This is not a moms I'd like to anything. This is a moms that rock.
So you're saying Stifler's mom will not be making appearance?
True. Yeah. So, would you just jump right into it, because there's been a lot of moms. Almost every sitcom and every show, there's a mom of some kind, because everybody relates to it, because we all come from mothers.
Well, I will say, when you brought this up, I automatically thought of the Goldberg's mom, Beverly. Mm-hmm. Yep. You were like, let's do a podcast about moms, and just right away I was like, Beverly Goldberg.
See, now my question of that one: do you count her as a good mom or a not as good mom?
She's a good mom. She has some questionable practices, the way she handles things. If you've watched the show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's
great intentions.
Yeah. It's a typical sitcom, setup, right? Where it's an over-exaggeration of a motherly character, where I think some of it might be true because, it's based off of his life. But I think more than anything, it's an over-exaggeration of how clingy and schmoopy she is, that type of stuff. But,
There's no one in my house that really tries to model their life after what Beverly does sometimes. Now, for one that was a little more tough, how about Sarah Connor from the Terminator movies? She was a pushover of a waitress at some
in the first
Greasy
one.
Spoon restaurant and turned into a sunglass wearing, robot killing, time traveling, I'm going to save my son and you're going to die if you get in my way. She was
But here's the question, here's the argument. Remember, she kind of went, she like you said, was a pushover in the first movie. In the second movie, she was kind of AWOL from her son, right? That's why he was with the foster parents, whatever he was with, because, she was locked up in a psych ward and everything like that. And, because she started spouting all that stuff, and she knew she should have probably stopped, but she kept saying it. But then she ended up kind of making it right by, coming out and protecting her baby.
Yeah. So yeah, there's good and bad there, but in the end, she came out being on top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Harry Potter series, Molly Weasley. She's like the Beverly Goldberg of the Hogwarts universe, I think. All their kids complain about her, but all their kids know she had her back. She had their backs.
And that great line that we can't quote here because this is a family-oriented podcast, but it's a great line from the movie, which is very reminiscent of the Sigourney Weaver line. But
hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Another one from TV that's been recent that all kinds of problems, was not so great to start off with. It ended up, what she was doing was all for the right reasons. It was Joyce Byers from Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was flighty, she was ditzy, she didn't have her stuff together, but when it came to believing and trusting her instincts and saving her son from the supernatural underworld that no one believed existed, she pulled the crazy card and said, I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I want my boy back.
Well, and I think that's like the perfect example right there of, going through hell to get your family back, right? That's always one of those growing up where, your parents were like, I'd fight tooth and nail to get you back if somebody ever took you or anything like that. And that's exactly what she did,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So applause to her.
And I think I mean, we could go through probably dozens and dozens of the live action sitcoms, but so many of the moms are just kind of cookie cutter clones where there's not much depth to them, especially in the 80s and 90s. They were.
I was going to say the 80s.
Stay home and do some cooking and wait for my family to come home, and then I will clean up their messes when they do funny things. Like that was that was a sitcom mom of the 80s, right?
Well, I mean, even in the early 90s, because I mean, it was like you said, it was cookie cutter. It was always there was some that kind of branched out and did their own things, right? But,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, what is it, Peggy Bundy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I'd put her in the bad moms category.
Dang. Yeah, no, yeah, it makes sense. Roseanne, kind of the same kind of thing. I'm trying to think of what other sitcoms. Full House didn't have a mom. Um, my brain just stopped.
The mom from Modern Family was decent, but again, she was.
Which, yeah, I mean, but I think the mom from Modern Family was more of a realistic type of thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, she was over exaggerated for some parts because it's a sitcom, but also some of it, with the whole realistic, with the relationship with the kids and everything like that, and having to deal with actually real world type of stuff. I think that's what made it more relatable to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why that sitcom did so well, is because you're like, oh, yeah, I get this. I get why you're acting that way.
Mm-hmm. And then if we move out of live action sitcoms, we go into things like animation. The world kind of opens up just a little bit.
A little bit, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just you go down the Disney run. Let's go down to Elastigirl from The Incredibles. Was she not awesome?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
all across the board. and her husband was. I mean, they made the character of Mr. Incredible to be the typical '90s sitcom dad of the aloof.
Yeah.
Dumb as a rock. I'm going to do my thing, and they figured out how to make it go through there.
I will tell you that I was going to say Elastigirl did a really good job too of like protecting her family and then like stretching the truth to protect them. I had to put that in there. All right. Anyway, continue.
Marge Simpson from The Simpsons. Another one that she's got some issues of some things she does are not right, but overall, everything she does is to keep her little family together and take care of people.
Mm-hmm. I would say there's definitely times when you're watching The Simpsons and she's definitely like an over exaggeration, especially like the early seasons.
Mm.
But with the later seasons, they definitely made her more of like the stable character. And I mean, she's still kind of, on some of the stuff you're like, but like you said, she's one of those ones where it kind of gets a little bit more realistic with some of the stuff.
But the funny, you say that she's the stable character when she is most of the time, but they still throw it in that a couple times every season or two, they throw it in where Marge goes off the deep end. And she's in the mental institution or goes off the rails or does something crazy because she's stable. I can't take this anymore.
Which, I mean, if that's not a good representation of a mother, then I mean that with all sincerity, because that's how
in the most complimentary way possible.
Yeah, that's how moms are. They will hold it together. They will hide everything. They will suppress it because they got to be strong. They got to be strong. They got to be strong. And then something happens, and they go off in the deep end. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame them.
Yep. And as kids, we'll remember that moment too when you're playing around with toys after school or something like that, and for some reason you left your left shoe in the front room, and all of a sudden the whole house is coming down with yelling and screaming, and you're grounded for weeks, and things are going getting thrown in the trash can. You're like, what happened?
I don't think it. I was going to say, I don't think it also helps, like when, because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like the mom reaches the breaking point, right? And it's the weirdest little thing, and then you kind of talk back in a sense of like, why are you making a big deal out of this? And heaven have mercy.
Yep. And it's funny getting to the age right now with kids growing up. You see the other side of that, and as kids, you don't see the other little stuff. It's just that one little thing set her off. I don't know. She's crazy. And as an adult, you're like, there's like 764 things that have led me up to this point.
Yep.
And you know every single one of them. Comic-wise, how about Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman?
For a minute there, when you said comic, I was like, comedians? No, Sue Storm, yeah.
Well,
so you would know better than me, because like I didn't read any of it when she had kids. So
She did her best she can, but she was one of the ones she was kind of the stable one in their family too, because they all had their powers, and she was more level-headed. Reed was a little too scientific, and the universe came first, but to Sue, it was the family came first most of the time. Mm-hmm. And aside from her mid-90s flair, we decided to dress like an S&M queen, then that might have been a little off the deep end, but I'll show you invisible.
He's got to get a groove back.
Let's see, what are some other ones that we're gonna some of the movie moms that were good. Forrest Gump's mom. I don't know if there's anything other than Mrs. Gump, but
I was
think what she had to persevere through, and the good-hearted nature and the little nuggets of wisdom she passed along to Forrest.
Mama always said. Yep.
Mama always said. Another one of my favorite moms in pop culture history, Morticia Addams.
Oh, yes. Well, okay, so I would say...
I mean, I don't like spiders and death and getting things chopped off, but if I was into that, she would have been a great mom.
Well, I was going to say, she was good. Her... Catherine Zeta-Jones' rendition of her in Wednesday was a little bit different. Like, it kind of turned the relationship with her kids a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because they made it a little bit more realistic with, like, the teenager and the mom dynamic. So you're like, okay, I understand that. But yeah, even in the movies and everything like that, she was just that mom that's always there and the perfect wife and all that jazz. And then she would protect her family.
Mm-hmm. Hardcore protect her family.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to keep going with good moms, or should we transfer into some of the not so good moms?
Well, you got a couple more good moms there? Or maybe, let's go do a couple more good moms.
How about Jane Jetson?
See, I want to say yes, but I also know that she was a stereotype written for the 50s of the mom that needs to stay at home and knows her place.
Yeah. So she was not great. I'll give you that part for it. That's the problem I went to. I ran into a lot of these things, and I was even planning on asking ChatGPT about some of the moms, and one of the ones that came up was Daenerys Targaryen. I'm like, but she wasn't even actually a mom, but she raised those dragons. She raised the dragons, and she was the mother to all of her people, and she did a great job with. I thought that was a bit of a stretch.
Except for the last season.
Oh yeah, she did light a lot of people on fire, so it works out all right.
Well, I was thinking too, like, did you consider, what's her name from the Brady Bunch or the Partridge Family? Like, are those good moms? I mean, or is that just a time period, like, that it was a good mom and now it'd be kind of frowned upon?
I didn't go back for those because I think the same reason you didn't go with Jane Jetson was you go back to those times, and even, Donna Reed. For the time period, that was the perfect mom. Donna Reed was the most perfect human being on earth. And I would have hated to live in Donna Reed's house. I would have been a bad teenager.
Well, I think maybe that's why we relate more to like the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s moms of the sitcoms and everything like that, is because they made them a little bit more over-exaggerated, but they made them more realistic, more down to earth, more like relatable, where like the mom snaps at the kid for something. You're like, I get that.
It's realistic. I was trying to find a list of a lot of comic book moms too, and a lot of comic book moms just are murdered.
I was going to say a lot of comic book parents in general just disappear. Like Bruce Wayne's mom, was she great? Could have been.
She must have been up to that point. Oh, here we go. Hippolyta, Wonder Woman's mom. See, she was awesome, but what? My question with her is: was she a great mom, or was she just a demanding mom?
Well, was she a great mom, or was she a great trainer? Like that. Because I mean, she was kind of like leading her kid down the path to become that warrior, right? So,
or Moira McTaggart from the X-Men comics. She was a genetic scientist. She loved her kid, but her kid turned into Proteus, and almost destroyed the world. So you can chalk that little A, little B.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's more like on the kid, not the parenting, but
That's true. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna get myself in trouble if I go. Let's change the subject. Another one from a list I found. So we talked about Mary Parker from Spider-Man. That although she and her husband died when Peter was young, their influence was significant. Like, pretty sure dying doesn't become a good influence on your kids, no matter how hard.
Well, so I mean, even if you look at the comic book movies, right? The one that comes closest to acknowledging his parents is the Amazing Spider-Man in the first one, but that's more of he's obsessed with his dad and his research. The mom doesn't really like. She's kind of there, but
yes, it's a lot of the ones you go there. You find ones that did good things or were very nice, but it's there's not that many stories written about a really over the top great mom,
right?
Which maybe that's what's missing in Hollywood. A little positive spin on some of that things instead of a whole slew of movies of teenagers that are angry at their parents. How about a movie about where parents are saving their kids?
Well, I was going to say, like, look here. Let's start off with a bad mom. What about you remember the movie "Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead"? That mom left for what, like a European trip or something, and basically just left her kids for like a month with the babysitter. It was like, I'm out, deuces. So that's great. That's not a great mom.
Yeah, and we go through bad moms. I mean, that's easy to start spitting off lists. You got Olivia from The Sopranos, Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development.
Funny mom, but yes, no, you're correct. You're correct.
Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones.
Well, I mean, the argument could be made she was doing it for her family too. Like she did a lot of nasty things, but for her family.
Yes,
that one. It depends
her
what
heart
side of the
was
book.
kind of in the right place, but
Motives, maybe not.
Norma Bates from Psycho.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's not a good mom. Mrs. Darling from Peter Pan. If you think about it, I never really thought about that. We go to the mom in Peter Pan, and she's a complete jerk to her kids. None of her kids are good enough. She's always mad at them. Everything's just. No wonder they want to grow up.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought of one and then I lost it.
Did it involve Beverly from Serial Mom?
No.
Serial killer moms are not a good thing. It's not good. Regina's mom from Mean Girls.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all the Mean Girl came from. Was from Mean Girls' mom.
Got it back. Carrie's mom from Carrie.
Oh, yeah.
That is a horrible mom.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you look at the 70s one, the original Stephen King. Oh, that is an awful mom.
Mm-hmm.
Awful.
But yeah, kind of brings back bad memories. Lady Tremaine from Cinderella. Granted, she was a stepmom, but man.
Well, I mean, she was still a mom to her.
Yeah, she was a crappy mom to them too. So
yeah.
she loses on both fronts. Aunt Lydia from Handmaid's Tale. Everyone wants to be like her, right?
No. Mother Gothel from Tangled. That kind of counts because she did raise her, and she did think she was her mom.
It's true. And she did make a catchy song of making her listen to her everything she says. Yep.
Listen to your mother. Yeah, I mean, right there is you kidnap a kid to force them to be your kid, and
if you lock anybody in a tower, you're probably not have their best interest in mind, unless it's like a werewolf. What about Jason's mom, Pamela Voorhees from Friday the 13th?
Not a good mom. I mean, let's throw this out there. Like you said, serial killer moms, horror movie moms are kind of like right around that thing, unless it's with the kids trying to fight. Because I mean, I think of the mom from Poltergeist. She went through hell in that one. I wouldn't say she was a bad mom, but that's different. But yeah, Voorhees, no.
Yeah, there's some bad stuff. But see how much it's weird how easy it is to find a whole list of stories with evil mothers or bad mothers, moms that did bad things. But the number of stories that have really powerful, strong moms, it's dwindling list.
Few and far between. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you go for the moms from the Hallmark Christmas movies, but they're all generic cookie cutter things too. Of I helped my daughter fly to see her boyfriend, and
But I think you nailed it. Is like it's one of those ones where for the longest time, moms were viewed as this you got to stay at home and know your place type of thing, right? And then if they didn't, then they were kind of like overbearing, like the mom from Carrie, right? The
mm,
overbearing, protective, you need to do this and you need to listen to me and blah blah blah. But I think we need more moms, kind of like the Beverly Goldberg. Yeah, she's a little eccentric, she's a little over the top, but she supports her kids 100% and is always there for them.
mm,
And I think that's kind of like you said, Hollywood needs to get on the boat of like, because I mean, if you look at the stories too, it's always like an evil stepmom, right? That's
mm.
not true. I mean, or the mom is overbearing or the mom's dead. It's one of those ones where, I mean, especially in a Disney movie, if their parents are in the beginning of it, they ain't going to be at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, hey, look at
Elsa's,
Turning Red. The entire plot of
yeah,
that movie was every woman was mad at her mother. Like that was for generations. Yeah. That was the plot of the movie. Your mom did horrible things to you. Be mad at her.
when I think Turning Red was the closest one that we've had to like maybe a real life relationship type of thing with their like their daughter and everything like that, because I see it now. I'm sure you're starting to see kind of the similarities too. But that's one is like Turning Red was a great movie, and I think a lot of people related to it because of that, So maybe they're getting there, or like Riley's mom from Inside Out was there and kind of tried to understand what was going on and everything. That's like true, that,
Yeah, she was a good one.
But I mean, most of the time you watch a Disney movie that has the parents in the beginning of it, you're like, they ain't making it to the end. Like, look at Frozen. Like, our daughter has powers. Let's lock her up.
I guess that might be part of the problem, too, of what people would want from their mothers and expect from their mothers. If people want their mother to always be in their corner and be there for them, they probably don't want their mother on the front lines taking bullets to save the world. And
yeah. Yeah.
So definitely some interesting writing takes and how the traditional story would have to change to make that go with. But it's got to be doable.
They got to be doing something. I mean, like Joyce Byers, I think, was a great character development for a mom because she was that kind of like like I mean, it was a typical '80s mom type of thing of like her parent, she doesn't know where her kids are, blah 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 type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then she just went into full on rage mode to try to get her kid back, and she screamed. She got stuff done,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think that's great.
The stuff she had the typical thing of she's not going to take care of her kids. She can't do it because she was a single mom in the '80s trying to raise two kids with make ends meet. Like that's plenty good reason that your kids were home alone if you had to go work a double.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's the thing too is like a lot of people look at moms like that. They're like, she's neglectful. She's not raising the kids right. She's working a double shift or she's working 2 jobs to try to feed them and everything like that. How is that not good? Sorry, she's not a helicopter.
Helicopter mom. Could you turn that into a superhero but make it a good thing? Or that'd be a super villain, wouldn't it?
Helicopter mom. Get away from that bug. It's Spider-Man. You heard what I said.
Don't make me come over there. I'm not saying it twice. If I count to 5 and that bug is still there.
What is it with we're still talking about moms, but we're not talking about the superhero or anything like that. But what is it about a mom saying your full, middle, and last name that just strikes fear into your heart? What is that power? Because that is a superpower.
I would agree. I'm not sure what that does.
Like, it does not matter how old you are. Like, my mom, I made her mad the last time I saw her and she said my full name. I was like, oh my, I flashed back, man. I had whiplash. I was like, I'm still scared of you.
It's something about the point of emphasis because it just draws out enough and it focuses on there because it's never said unless it is a problem. So I think we all are trained from a young age that's like the switch. So like right. Gotta listen now.
When it's funny is like, I don't know about your dad, but like I remember my dad, he said my full name a couple times. It didn't have the same effect, right?
No.
When mom said it, you're like, uh-oh, I really messed up.
You expected like a bad joke coming from your dad after you said it. Derek Michael Brown, I'm going to tell you something. It's a joke.
Yeah, when mom says it, you're like, where's the shoe coming from? I don't know.
I'll clean it up. I don't know what it is. I'll clean it up.
What did I do? I'm sorry. I'll clean it. I'll do my chores. What do I need to do? I'm sorry. What?
So wrapping this whole thing up, we talked through a bunch of the good moms from pop culture. We talked through some of the bad moms about pop culture. What are the characteristics that make a pop culture mother so like what makes a pop culture mom rock? Is it the
Sense of humor?
sense of
I
humor,
think.
the doing anything for their family and loved ones?
Yeah, not being a pushover. Like
Mhm.
being that strong woman that actually like represents what it should be like. And one thing we didn't even touch literature moms because there's a lot. I'm not gonna even dive into that because there's a lot of moms in the literature world where you're like, oof, or you're like, wow. But we'll leave that to the comment section.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the mom story needs to be more written word than movie sequence because flashy pictures don't quite do the justice you need for that kind of thing.
I will. What about the mom from Independence Day?
I
Not
I
the president's wife, but
I,
Vivica A. Fox. Is that her name?
I can't even remember the mom from Independence Day.
Where she was the stripper, and then she was in the tunnel with her son and the dog, and she was doing everything. She was a good mom. You remember that? Watch it again.
I don't, but the definition of the stripper who took her son and a dog into a tunnel to escape from aliens didn't spark my memory at all.
Okay, fair, fair. The mom from Mars Attacks was not good.
And then there's what about the mom from Coraline? The mom
Which one?
was decent Coraline, but the other mother, a little creepy.
You think?
Yeah.
Was it the button eyes that gave that away, or
So I think here's what we'll do. We'll make a list of some good moms and some bad moms. You can go to our website, geekish.com, and you can chime in the comments there on who else we need to add to the list of good moms, bad moms. How about that?
yeah, that's good.
Just for fun, since we're speaking about moms and all this stuff. So with that blog post up, go let us know at Geekish and all the social media handles, and have yourself a good Mother's Day season.
Mother's Day season. A season, not a good Mother's Day, just a season of it.
Well, it's different for a lot of people. Some people it's a
That's
sad
true.
time. Some people it's a happy time. Some people don't care. Some people go all aboard for it. So
Yep,
don't
makes
want to
sense.
alienate anybody. Everyone knows a mom, or knows somebody that has a mom, or knows of a mom. Like one of those three things, you're connected in some way.
I'm trying to think now. Is there like a representation of like a dog mom or a cat mom in pop culture that we miss? Because I mean, those count too. They definitely
I
count.
don't even think of animal movies. That's not fair. But most of the animal ones die too. When we say
Oh,
Bambi's mom was probably amazing.
on that note,
Let us know at Get Geekish, and we will talk at you next week. Hey, thanks for listening. We truly appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. Find us on social media at Get Geekish, and if you want more podcasts, we got plenty of them.